Hi, friends. Um, cool. Welcome to Sticky Notes, where for those of you who aren't actually part of the user story, you might be watching online, where one of us will get up and talk about something related to UX product design or something about the user story. So every 2 weeks, 15 minutes. You are lucky enough today to have me with language market fit. Um, so language market fit, I think, might be something that people haven't heard of, or maybe you think that I was meant to do a talk on product market fit because that might make a bit more sense. But I do actually mean language market fit. I'm going to get that wrong at some point through this. But so, yeah, language market fit might be something that you haven't necessarily heard of or think about too much, because often what we do is we focus on product market fit. So, product market fit, for those of you who aren't super familiar with it, is effectively, in the most basic sense, you want to make sure that the market that you actually want to use a thing and the product that you're creating fit together nicely, like in this pyramid. You can have a set of people with a problem or a need, and then you can also have a product with some features and some UX on the top there. But if you don't get the two to meet in the middle, you don't have product market fit, because you can have a product with no users, you can have people with problems who have no product to help them with that thing. But in its most simple form, product market fit is having a product and enough users to sustain it effectively in itself. So if you can do that as a business, as a product, you are saying that you have product market fit. You have solved someone's need and people are actually paying, hopefully, to use the thing that you've made. But it can be quite hard. And I think it's one of those things that we hear spoken about a lot. And like, we'll work with businesses who are trying to find product market fit. But a lot of the time, it's a bit more frustrating, because you think you might just be like, you've got to turn up, you've got a really good idea, you know people have this problem, something's not quite clicking to get you to the point where you could say, I have product market fit. But how do you expect to sell a product that you can't explain and actually speak to people about? If someone can't understand what it is you are trying to do or what your product's going to offer them, then it's going to be very hard to match those two together and find product market fit. So if you don't actually understand how you're going to do that and how people are speaking about and thinking about at least the problems that you are trying to solve, you feel a bit like trying to jam the wrong size block here into a different shaped hole. It's never quite going to click. You might get a little bit of traction. Some people might understand, but you can be really sure that you're doing the right things, but it's just not quite happening for you, really. And that's where product market, see, there we go, language market fit comes in. So how, firstly, what is it in a way of how are you going to effectively communicate what you're doing to your market? How are they going to understand the value that you are trying to offer them enough so that they're going to make a decision about what they want to buy? And it's quite often something that people don't necessarily think about, because it's, well, I know what this does, so I'll talk about it that way. So how do you actually find language market fit? So there are a few different ways, and I will say, so I learnt this probably about a year and a half ago. There's a wonderful guy, Matt Lerner. He co-runs Startup Core Strengths and does lots of other things, but he has some really nice guides on this. So do Google that if you want to find out more. But I've been through this process with some of the clients that we work with. So first one that we're familiar with, conduct some interviews. Go and actually speak to people who might be users of your product and generate some jobs to be done, or some kind of understanding what the pain points, what the struggles, what it is it that people are trying to do, and how do they talk about their needs and their issues and their struggles, rather than how we maybe think about what they are struggling with. Then do a bit of analysis on that and don't lose the way that they're talking about it. Like, the focus here is on the language. So find some common themes, take that stuff in, and do a bit of ideation around headlines. So think hero kind of place on a website, or if you were going to run an ad and you had to explain your product in as few words as possible. We don't need paragraphs. But how would you describe it to get someone's attention and capture that kind of mind reading feeling that someone's going to be like, that is exactly it. That is what I struggle with. This is the thing that I need that is going to help me. So come up with some headlines and test. So the first test that you want to do is comprehension, because as we all know, people interpret things in different ways. The way that you interpret a piece of language, a sentence, a whole paragraph is going to be different to how someone else does. And we all know that we have bias in things that we're working on. If you're very close to something, you are never going to be the best judge of that. So one way for this is just take your headlines and do 5-second tests. So just put your headline, don't need anything else on there, show it to someone for 5 seconds and ask them a few questions about it. What did they understand from what they read? Can they recall what it is that you showed them? And what maybe do they think this thing does, just based on the headline? If it's way off, then go back, reassess the language, and do some little loops here. The point of this is, like, it is throwaway. It's super quick. It's super low cost. Unless you have a product that has kind of super niche kind of language in a kind of industry that has a lot of jargon that is needed, not just jargon for jargon's sake. If you're in an office, write it down on a piece of paper, go and ask some people in a space. Just ask them for 5 minutes. So once you find that people are kind of taking in the message that you're giving them, you then want to start to experiment with that. And this is the point where you understand it a little bit more. And for this part, it'll be a little bit more expensive, but hopefully not too expensive. So you want to experiment as rapidly as you can with the headlines that you've got that people could comprehend. So A/B tests are really good for this. So as an example, and this is a real example that has been shared, you have kind of an option A, option B. You can read on here, they do look, but effectively take your headline and create a method by which you can test just that headline and keep everything else the same. So image it if you're using any other images or things that need to go into it, calls to action, any like links and things. Keep all of those things the same, only change the headline that you've done the comprehension testing on. And a good way just to frame how you want to set up that kind of that A/B test and that hypothesis that you have, because you will have them based on what you've come with, is to fill out a statement in a very writing hypotheses and keeping track of what they're testing. But in this case, a really simple one is to start with, we believe that. So what is it that we're trying to do? What do we think is going to happen? And insert, we believe that this one is going to perform better than this, our control or what we're using now, or a different one. Therefore, we will. So if that were to work, what is the thing you are then going to do? Are you going to roll out that headline onto a website? Are you going to run further tests? Like, what is that next step? And always keep a track of these, because you'll do them in lots of rapid cycles. So you want to keep track of what's not worked, what has worked, and be able to kind of compare those. And just keep it really nice and simple. The point here is to do it as quick as possible. Test the riskiest ones first, because just get them out of the way. The quicker you fail, the closer you are to not failing as much. But a way to actually do this, because a lot of people will then think, well, I need to run on like landing pages. I'm going to have to set up a whole landing page, and then it becomes an overhead, typically for a startup company that doesn't have a lot of resources to spend on this. So don't bother doing that. It's going to take too long. It's not the point. You're not testing a landing page. You want to understand if you're speaking to people in the right way. So from my experience, ads are a really good way to do them. But also where you are running that ad. For example, when I went through this process, we ran some tests between running LinkedIn ads versus Facebook ads. You can target audiences pretty well on them both, but for speed and cost, for this type of thing, Facebook much quicker impressions, a lot cheaper to run, audience was okay, and we started there running some Facebook ads. And as we started through, what the ones that were winning, and this is just based on like what do people click on? Like you can just send them to their website, to your actual website or a landing page. It doesn't really matter where they're going. This is like somewhat throwaway. But once you have a good idea of those, maybe move to something a bit more like LinkedIn. Ads are a bit more expensive, but your leads are typically better. If you have a better place to send them and you're confident in the message that's going out, have a think about where else you want to do that. And then eventually get it on your website. And then, but continue to test, because just because you found it once doesn't really mean that you can't lose it. So yeah, have a think, go through, focus on the language that other people are using, people who are actually in that situation. Do your thing. Experiment, test, learn quickly, and test for the risky assumptions first. And yeah, that is language market fit. Any questions?
Very cool. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, Holly has questions.
How important do you think the visual language is when you're testing this? Would you test it like as basic as possible, so you're only focusing on the words and what they mean, or would you also do like a visual language as part of that test?
So I would say focus on the actual language. You don't want the visuals to be, say, like super, super poor. If you're running ads on Facebook and it's got your business attached to it and you're assigning it to your website, you want it to maybe be on brand. But it's more important that the image and the visual kind of type that you're using alongside the headlines remain the same and are controlled across the experiments, because then it's the same. If you wanted to test for visuals, you could keep the headline the same and change the visuals out. And some people will do that just kind of as a cross reference, almost check. If I change the visual, does the headline perform any better with the visual? But then you get into the realm of testing slightly different things rather than just the pure language.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so in the in the early stages of finding that language fit, in the very early stages, what are the best ways to put yourselves into your customers' shoes to try and think that?
If you can't go and speak to these people directly,
if you can't go and speak to them directly, what do you know? So again, a lot of it sounds like guesswork or just assumptions. So, what would you say are some of the best ways, or one of the best ways, or a best way?
So, as much as you can, go and try and find those people. They might be really hard to find if you're working on something that's really niche and in a niche market and they're not easily accessible, sure. But go and find where they are, like in the wild. So within an industry, no matter what it is, go and find out like where they're hanging out, whether that is in like Facebook groups. Reddit threads are actually really, really good for finding out about how people are talking about things and asking questions, because there's a lot of that. There's been is it Quora? That one?
Yes.
Lots of people are posting questions there about issues that they have. So if you can't directly speak to people, just go and try and get as close to them as you can without actually interacting with them, and do the same analysis and process, but actually maybe about the types of questions that they're asking online rather than kind of directly to you in an interview.
Fantastic.
Cool. Thanks very much, Katie.
You are welcome.
Yeah, well done. So next up on Sticky Notes is going to be Stefan on the 17th of November. That's actually going to be a Thursday because Stefan, along with I think another 4, are we sending 4 people this year? I don't know how many people. We're sending a lot of people basically to Sickness City, biggest and most exciting startup conference slash. I can't remember what it was described as recently, but the playground for professional development, which I quite like. So yes, we'll be at that on the from the evening of the 17th through to the 19th of November. But Steve will be talking about AI and the impact of AI on user experience on the 17th of November. So join us for that one. We've actually got one between these two as well. So on the 2nd of December, we have got an undecided sticky note to do. And then on the 16th of December, I've got one here, that would be Holly with inclusive design and how you can do more than just meet the requirements for by law in making things more accessible and actually make things more inclusive for everybody. So join us for that. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.